Hello and welcome to Spectrum News of Akaibam. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu assures Saudi investors of safe investments in Nigeria. Court bars NLC TUC from embarking on nationwide strike. Plus, Bulgarians accused of spying for Russia to face trial in London court. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news, Saudi Africa Summit in Riyadh, where President Bola Tinubu yesterday assured potential investors that their investments are safe in Nigeria. Now, speaking at the Saudi Africa Summit in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, President Tinubu said Nigeria is ready for business while assuring investors of some of the world's highest returns on investment. Tinubu stated that Nigeria is desirous of enhancing collaboration with Saudi Arabia on combating terrorist organizations such as Boko Haram, ISWAP, and other violent extremist groups which have been terrorizing the Lake Chad and Sahel regions. The president expressed confidence that the country's joint positive disposition within those platforms would continue to be demonstrated as they seek to advance their mutual interests. He further thanked the Middle East nation for the various humanitarian interventions in Nigeria through the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has described the death of Nigeria's first female Major General, Aderonke Kale, as a painful loss to the country. Kale, also the first female commander of the Nigerian Army Medical Corps, died on Thursday at the age of 84. Tinubu, in a condolence statement signed by his special advisor, media and publicity, Ajurin Gelale, also sympathized with the Kale family, the Nigerian Army, and the Society of Medical Practitioners in Nigeria on the passing of one of their own. Tinubu stated that as a pioneer in her field, the late Major General embodied the courage, professionalism, capacity, and resilience of the Nigerian woman. The president prayed for the repose of the soul of the late officer and encouraged her beloved family to take solace in the peerless legacy she left behind. Away from that now, the federal government, through the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Nkiruka Onyejocha, has said that plans are underway to launch a roadmap for removing 80% of unemployed youths from the streets. Onyejocha challenged top managers at the National Directorate of Employment (NDE) to sit up for the challenge, promising a new National Directorate of Employment (NDE) to execute the job of the ongoing Lagos International Trade Fair with the theme Connecting Businesses, Creating Value in the Nation's Economic Capital. The minister stressed NDE's crucial role in tackling unemployment through provision of skills and entrepreneurship opportunities for young Nigerians. In a statement by her special advisor, Media, Imame Gabriel, Onyejocha urged NDE managers to focus on combating unemployment without compromise. According to her, the president had given a clear mandate to address the challenge decisively. In the meantime, the federal government has called on international partners to intervene in the humanitarian crisis in Benue State. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, made the call in Makurdi during her visit to the Ichwa internally displaced persons camp. Edu said government would write to the headquarters of international donors to seek assistance to resettle the IDPs. Reports say Ichwa is one of the 13 official IDP camps located across the state. Now from the Red Chamber, the Senate President Godswill Akpabio has said that other countries will learn from Nigeria after 50 years of democracy. He said this when he received the Irish ambassador to Nigeria, Peter Ryan, in his office in Abuja. According to Senator Akpabio, the 59th president of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Nigeria needs a lot of assistance, collaboration and bonding to learn from other democratic nations like Ireland. The Senate president also spoke about the spate of kidnappings across the country, particularly in the Niger Delta. He said the menace has abated largely through the efforts of the previous administration. According to him, Nigeria's democracy would have significantly developed by 2073. We move on now to the Green Chambers, where the House of Representatives has mandated its committees on Foreign Affairs, Human Rights and Diaspora to investigate the incessant mistreatment of Nigerians living in the Republic and report back to the House for further legislative action. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion on the legal incarceration of Okuma Chika and discriminatory arrests of Nigerians in the Republic of Benin, which was moved by OK Chinda, Fred Agbedi, Beatrice Lawn, among others at plenary. Chinda noted that Okuma Chika, a Nigerian who legitimately and legally resides and works in the Republic of Benin, is alleged to have been arrested by the country's police service in April 18, 2023. He raised concern that Chika, who after his undergraduate academic program in the Republic of Benin, worked as an administrative staff at SFAM University in Port Novo, has been incarcerated at the Akro Miserete prison since April 26, 2023, over allegations of internet fraud. Let's move on now to the judiciary, where the Court of Appeal sitting in Lagos has affirmed the victory of Enugu State Governor Peter Mba in the March 18 governorship election. The court dismissed the appeal filed by the Labour Party governorship candidate Chijioke Edoga as lacking in merit and upheld the judgment of the Enugu governorship election petitions tribunal delivered in September. The three-member panel, led by Justice Tijani Yusuf Hassan, held that the appellant failed to prove that Mba forged his National Youth Service Corps NYSC certificate and was not qualified to contest the election. The judgment comes days after the ruling of a federal high court in Abuja on Monday, awarding 5 million naira in damages against the NYSC for claiming that its discharge certificate held by Mba was fake. Judge Inyang held that the NYSC and its Director General were guilty of misrepresentation of material facts. In a separate development now, the Appeal Court Lagos Division has reaffirmed Thaddeus Attar of the Labour Party as the duly elected House of Representatives member representing Itiosa Federal Constituency in Lagos State. The National Assembly Election Petitions Tribunal, which sat at the Tafawa Balewa Square, Lagos, had earlier invalidated Attah's victory. Attah had, through his counsel, Professor Michael Zekome, appealed the tribunal judgment. Delivering judgment in the matter, the three-member panel of the Court of Appeal set aside the decision at the National Assembly Elections Petition Tribunal. The panel, in its unanimous decision, agreed with Ozekome and held that the lower tribunal erred when it relied on the evidence of witnesses who were not party agents where elections were held or where elections were cancelled, but who only came to tender Form EC8, which they did not author before the court. In the meantime, Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja has refused the request by the Lamidia Papas faction to stop the candidate of the Labour Party, Ethan Achonu, from contesting today's governorship election in Imo State on the platform of the party. The request brought by the faction through its counsel, Mohammed Ndarani Mohammed, a senior advocate of Nigeria, was outrightly rejected by the judge for being premature. At the ruling, Justice Ekwo held that he had perused through the affidavit evidence of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and that of Apapa's side and found contentious issues that cannot be resolved through the ex parte motion as sought by Apapa's side. Justice Ekwo said from the totality of the claims by Apapa's faction and the counterclaims of INEC that the dispute is deeply rooted and cannot be resolved through the granting of interim injunction as requested by Apapa's group. In a separate development now, the National Industrial Court yesterday restrained the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, Trade Union Congress TUC, as well as their affiliates from embarking on any form of strike or industrial action. The two labour unions were ordered to stop their planned nationwide strike scheduled to commence on November 14. The President of the Court, Justice Benedict Bakwa Kanyip, issued the restraining order following an ex parte application to that effect, brought before the court by the Federal Government of Nigeria and the Attorney General of the Federation AGF and Minister of Justice, Justice Kanyip, invoked 17 and 19 of the National Industrial Court Act to issue the restraining order against the organized labor. Now, the federal government and the AGF, through their lawyer Tijani Ghazali, had in the ex parte application prayed the court to stop the planned strike. They said this was to avert untold hardships that would be inflicted on innocent, law-abiding citizens and their businesses. In another development, the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Joe Ajaero, yesterday gave an account of how he was allegedly brutalized in Imo State, saying police operatives handed him over to some suspected thugs for beating. The NLC president narrated his traumatic experience at a World Press Conference in Abuja. The development is coming barely 24 hours before the governorship election. And addressing journalists in Abuja, Ajaero, who wore a dark shade to cover his swollen eyes, lamented that the kind of beating he received after security agents handed him over to the thugs was better imagined than explained. This was even as he claimed the NLC wrote to intimate all the security agencies about the protest before the fateful day. His account contradicted an earlier statement by the Imo State Police Command, which said the NLC president was taken into protective custody to save him from a mob attack. In a related development, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Adeolu Ebetokun, has ordered a thorough probe into the allegation of assault on the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC), Comrade Joe Ajaero. Recall that on November 1, Ajaero was picked up at the NLC Secretariat in Owerri by heavily armed policemen. At the time of his arrest, he was leading a statewide protest and strike in the Imo State capital over what the Congress described as a lack of respect for workers, unpaid salaries and pensions, amongst other issues that they brought up. More than a week after the incident, the IGP said the investigation is to ascertain the facts surrounding the incident and to address any ambiguities that may exist. Specifically, the IGP directed the Deputy Inspector General in charge of the Force Criminal Investigation Department to take over the matter, stressing the importance of transparency and accountability in maintaining public trust. The police boss assured the public, especially the leadership of the organized labor, that a thorough and unbiased inquiry would be conducted. This, he noted, is to provide clarifications while urging organized labor and the public to remain calm, as he has personally intervened to address the issues surrounding the incident. Away from that now, the Lagos State government has announced a diversion of traffic on the Marine Bridge as part of the continuation of repair works at the Federal Ministry of Works. Marine Bridge is located between Ijora and Ajegunle in the Apapa area of the state. In a statement yesterday, the Commissioner for Transportation, Oluwaseun Oshiemi, said the traffic diversion would begin the same day and last till Thursday, December 21, 2023. Meanwhile, the government has provided alternative routes for motorists for the project's duration, urging motorists to ply the Marine Bridge access road to Area B and make a U-turn at Point Junction Road towards Marine Bridge to continue their journeys. Oshiemi appealed to motorists for their patience while plying the diversion routes, affirming that traffic officers from the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, would be deployed to manage traffic and minimize inconveniences. Still to come in the news. UK economy stagnates in Q3. Do stay with us.
SpectrumTv, broadening your horizon.
For brilliant broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news around the world. Watch SpectrumTv on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. SpectrumTv, broadening your horizon.
Every day marks a day of significance.
That in view of the apology tendered by this former minister who had earlier been cleared by this August Assembly,
as we face critical issues, developments and events which shape our social and political landscape here in Nigeria and beyond. Political Spectrum is a program specially designed to help make sense of all the moving parts of developments and occurrences in our nation's polity and political economy.
There is nothing wrong with Nigeria, but there's everything wrong.
The educational history of public figures holds significance beyond mere biographical details.
From executive, legislative and judicial developments at national and subnational levels to international diplomacy and relations.
Join us for exclusive interviews with key political figures, expert opinions, analysts, thought-provoking conversations for and against, shedding light on the major issues that matter. We will always keep you updated on the most factual, smartest and unbiased reportage.
Stay tuned to Political Spectrum. Political Spectrum. All sides matter at the round table. Political Spectrum. Exclusive to Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my Lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did?
He never did.
he linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my Lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to Africa, where UN's refugee agency UNHCR has said it is alarmed by the escalating fighting in Sudan's Darfur region. It says around 800 people have been killed following recent clashes between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF. According to a local civil society group, the Roots Organization for Human Rights, as many as 1,300 have died since last Friday around the city of El Geneina and blames the RSF for the killings. The UNHCR says that in the last week alone, at least 8,000 people have fled into neighboring Chad, some of whom say they have been subjected to sexual violence, torture, and extortion. Meanwhile, the RSF is alleged to have targeted the region's non-Arab population, something which it has previously denied. In the meantime, Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed has undergone successful shoulder surgery in the United Arab Emirates, UAE. According to his office, Mohammed is recovering well from the minor medical operation. It did not give further details about what happened to his shoulder. Reports say the president stayed in Abu Dhabi for a few days, where he also met top Emirati officials. He later traveled to also join other world leaders at Riyadh for the Saudi Africa Summit. Still in Africa, Kenya's President William Ruto has faced some criticisms following his first State of the Nation address on Thursday, in which he called for austerity measures. Critics say the president failed to adequately address how he was going to address the mounting concerns about the worsening cost of living. Some also called him out for promising to cut wasteful expenditure, yet spending millions on foreign travel with his latest trip to Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, Kenyans have faced growing taxes and levies since President Ruto came to power last year, which have contributed to an increase in the prices of basic commodities like food and fuel. Still in Kenya, where Paul Mackenzie, the Kenyan man accused of leading a cult and being responsible for the deaths of more than 400 people, have been found guilty on separate charges. A court in the coastal town of Malindi convicted him of illegally operating a film studio associated with his preaching and distributing films without a valid filming license. Reports say some of his sermons are still available online. The magistrate, however, acquitted him of the offense of inciting children against attending school. Mackenzie could face imprisonment of up to 5 years or pay a fine. Sentencing has been scheduled for next month. Meanwhile, Mackenzie has not been formally charged in relation to the death of hundreds of his alleged followers, despite being in custody since April. The discovery of the bodies in shallow graves in a forest shocked Kenya earlier in the year. In the meantime, South Sudanese children are calling on the authorities to improve the quality of learning in the country amid worrying reports that there are more than 2 million children out of school. In an extraordinary child-led parliamentary session organized by charity Save the Children, the young people demanded that their right to access decent education was respected. According to reports, the session held in the capital Juba under the theme "My Voice, My Right" was aimed at fostering dialogue and getting decision makers to hear children's voices. Meanwhile, representatives of children from the country's 10 states took part in the face-to-face session with other children who joined in remotely. Elsewhere, intense fighting reportedly continue in Sudan's capital Khartoum and in the western region of Darfur, where hundreds are said to have been killed in the ongoing clashes. Witnesses told newsmen that bodies littered the streets of Omdurman city in the latest escalation of violence between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF). According to the International Organization for Migration (IOM), in the west of the country, about 700 people have reportedly been killed in West Darfur clashes. Still in Africa, the head of Madagascar's lower house of parliament has called for the suspension of next week's presidential elections following weeks of opposition protests. Christine Razanamahosa, who leads a mediation group to try to resolve the political crisis, said the current climate in the country did not allow for a free and credible vote to be held as scheduled on 16th November to ensure what she called peace and harmony in the country. Madagascar has been paralyzed by a power struggle between the incumbent Andry Rajoelina and the former president Marc Ravalomanana. Meanwhile, University of Pretoria law professor Dire Tladi has made history by becoming the first South African elected as a judge of the UN International Court of Justice. President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday hailed Professor Tladi's election as an outstanding personal achievement in which the nation shares with great pride. He is one of 5 judges who were elected on Thursday by the UN's General Assembly and the Security Council for 9-year terms beginning February next year. ICJ is the UN's main judicial body, providing legal advice to UN agencies and settling legal disputes between countries. Still in Africa, a diphtheria outbreak has been reportedly declared as South Africa's Portsmouth maximum security prison following the death of a 19-year-old inmate. South Africa's Health Minister Joe Fowler said the male inmate who contracted the disease last month died on Sunday. According to him, 8 more inmates aged 18 through 23 are in isolation after testing positive for the disease. He added that a vaccination drive in the affected section of the prison is underway. Elsewhere, prosecutors in Burundi are seeking life imprisonment for former Prime Minister Alain Guillaume Bunyoni, who is on trial for 7 charges, including using supernatural powers to threaten the president's life. The prosecutors also called for Bunyoni to pay damages equivalent to twice the value of the 153 houses and plots of land and 43 vehicles belonging to him, in addition to a fine of 7.1 million Burundian francs. Reports say Bunyoni's trial started in September, a year after he was fired by President Evariste Ndayishimiye over suspicions that he was plotting a coup against him. Bunyoni, who is also accused of undermining national security, subverting government institutions, destabilizing the economy, and enriching himself through illegal means, pleaded not guilty to all charges and asked to be acquitted, citing a lack of tangible evidence. The foreign scene now. The United Nations yesterday said almost 50,000 people have been displaced by fighting in northern Myanmar after an alliance of ethnic armed groups launched an offensive against the military 2 weeks ago. Fighting has raged for 2 weeks across northern Shan State near the Chinese border in what analysts say poses the biggest military challenge to the genre since it seized power in 2021. Meanwhile, the Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army MNDAA, Tang National Liberation Army TNLA and Arakan Army AA say they have seized dozens of military outposts and blocked vital trade routes to China. Reports say restrictions in transport and availability of cash were hindering efforts by local humanitarian groups to give out aid. Still on the foreign scene, the Hamas government in the Gaza Strip says an Israeli strike on the territory's largest hospital has killed 13 people. The government, in a statement, noted that 13 martyrs and dozens have been wounded in Al-Shifa in central Gaza City. Meanwhile, the Israeli army has repeatedly accused Hamas of using hospitals, particularly Al-Shifa, to coordinate their attacks against the army and also as hideouts for its commanders. Meanwhile, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration (FDA) has approved the world's first vaccine for chikungunya, which it sees as an emerging global health threat. The agency said the mosquito-borne disease causes fever and joint pains and can be fatal to newborns. The FDA's approval is expected to speed up the vaccine's global rollout. Reports say about 440,000 chikungunya cases, including 350 deaths, have been reported as of September this year. In the meantime, a judge at the Old Bailey Court has ruled that 5 Bulgarian nationals accused of working as part of a Russian spy ring in the UK will go on trial next year. Vanya Gaberova, age 29, Olin Rosov, 45, Biza Zhambazov, 41, Katrin Ivanova, 32, and Ivan Stoyanov, 31, are charged with conspiracy to collect information that may be useful to a foreign power between August 30, 2020 and February 8, 2023. The defendants appeared by video link from prison. Zhambazov and Ivanova, a couple living at the same North London address, and Rosov, arrested in 3-star hotel in the seaside town of Great Yarmouth, face the additional charge of possessing false identity documents. And reports say the trio allegedly impersonated journalists with the intent of survey targets in the UK, Germany, and Montenegro. Still on the foreign scene, Hungary's Prime Minister says Ukraine is not ready to begin talks on future membership in the European Union, signaling again that his country could pose a roadblock to Kiev's ambitions to join the bloc. He said yesterday he does not support moving forward on negotiations on Ukraine's future membership in the European Union, and this signals again that his country could pose a major roadblock to Kiev's ambitions to join the bloc. Meanwhile, EU leaders are to decide in mid-December whether Ukraine should be formally invited to begin talks to join the 27-member union, with Hungary seen as a potential obstacle. On our business news, the UK economy failed to grow between July and September after a succession of interest rate rises, according to reports. The Chancellor said higher rates were hitting growth, but added that the economy had performed better than expected this year. Analysts say the economy is set to be stagnant for several months, but last week the Bank of England said the UK was likely to see zero growth until 2025, although it is expected to avoid a recession. Meanwhile, up until September, the Bank of England had raised interest rates 14 times in a row to try to tame soaring price rises. Raising rates can reduce inflation, which indicates the pace at which prices rise. It also affects economic growth by making it more expensive for consumers and businesses to borrow money. Interest rates are at a 15-year high of 5.25% and are expected to remain high for some time. Still in business, Nigeria and Saudi Arabia have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at enhancing energy cooperation between the two nations and promoting capital investment. In a statement, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Oil, Senator Hinikan Lokobiri, signed on behalf of the federal government, while the Energy Minister of Saudi Arabia, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, signed for his country. The primary goal of the MOU is to foster collaboration, information exchange and technology transfer, creating an environment conducive to mutually beneficial partnership. Meanwhile, the Saudi Investment Minister Khalid Al-Faleh said the kingdom's over $700 billion wealth fund, the Public Investment Fund, would make some game-changing investments in Africa. Still in business, the president of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, says the key to Africa's prosperity lies in exporting value-added agricultural products. He made these remarks during the 2023 Africa Investment Forum Marketplace in Marrakesh, Morocco, with a theme centered around unlocking Africa's value chains. He stressed that Africa must contribute to global food security by becoming a major player in food and agriculture on the global stage. Adesina revealed that the bank has contributed $853 million and mobilized over $661 million from other development partners to support the establishment of the special agro-industrial processing zones. Still to come in the news. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Man United deal closed. Do stay with us.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
For brilliant broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news around the world, watch Spectrum TV on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Hey, thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the Edo State Primary Healthcare Development Agency says that prevention and treatment of neglected tropical diseases, (NTDs), will be included in the second round of oral polio vaccination in the state. The Health Education Officer of the agency, Irene Oabo, disclosed this during the Social Mobilization Committee stakeholders meeting for the second round of polio vaccination in Benin. Oabo noted that NTDs drugs would be given to children above 5 years and adults in the 6 endemic local government areas of the state. She explained that the second round of the polio vaccination for children under 5 years would commence from November 11 through November 16, 2023. So in health, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, (NAFDAC), has called on agro-allied operators in the country to ensure the use of appropriate and safe feeds. NAFDAC said the use of safe feeds for animals would help safeguard the health of humans and animals. The Director, Veterinary Medicine and Allied and Product NAFDAC, Dr. Rametu Momodu, made the call during the Agro-Merit Industrial Outreach in Abeokuta. She also sought more cooperation from the Poultry Association of Nigeria at the national level for effective collaboration towards the development of the industry through efficient regulatory practices. Now in sports, Manchester United and Sir Jim Ratcliffe are hopeful of announcing their partnership over the international break. British billionaire Ratcliffe, chairman and CEO of chemical company Ineos, is set to acquire a 25% stake in the club for around £1.25 billion. It has been almost a year since United Americans owners, the Glazer family, announced they were considering selling the club. Both Ratcliffe and Qatari businessman Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani submitted bids for a full takeover worth around £5 billion. But neither offer was accepted by the Glazers, and instead they are set to agree to a deal with Ratcliffe which will allow them to keep their majority shareholding. Supporters are organizing a demonstration ahead of their Premier League. Now, elsewhere, still in sports, Tottenham duo James Maddison and Mickey van der Ven will both be out of action until the new year. Tottenham were already destined to be without 6 first-team players who they travelled to Wolves on Saturday lunchtime. But Postecoglou has now confirmed both van der Ven and Maddison will miss the rest of the calendar year, with injuries sustained against Chelsea on Monday. Van der Ven limped off with a hamstring injury before half-time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, while Maddison was withdrawn initially as a precaution with an ankle problem, which has since seen him ruled out of the England squad. Postecoglou will be without 3 of the back 4 who started against Chelsea on Monday, owing to suspensions to Christian Romero and Destiny Udogie following their red cards in the game, as well as Van der Ven's injury. Brighton have protected the future of young forward Evan Ferguson by extending his contract until 2029. Ferguson, aged 19, has scored 15 goals in 43 senior games, including his first hat-trick against Newcastle in September. The Republic of Ireland striker became his club's youngest Premier League scorer when he netted against Arsenal at 18 years and 73 days last December. Ferguson, Brighton's young player of the season for 2022-2023, had previously signed a contract in April, keeping him at the club until 2028. Club mate Kaoru Mitoma also signed a new contract last month in a deal running until 2027. Brighton may expect interest from other clubs in Ferguson, given his impressive emergence at such a young age. Ferguson joined the Seagulls from Irish club Bohemians in January 2021. On our entertainment news, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has announced her latest media feature in the upcoming docu-series by filmmaker Mo Abudu. Iweala, in a post via her official Twitter account, shared the news alongside behind-the-scene images with Abudu. Meanwhile, Iweala's journey into the world of finance will be explored in the upcoming series. Still on entertainment news, American-Canadian actor Matthew Perry's death certificate has been released by the LA County Department of Public Health nearly a week after he was laid to rest. Reports say authorities have filed paperwork finalizing Matthew Perry's passing. Recall that the 54-year-old actor was found dead in his hot tub on October 28 and was laid to rest at a private funeral on November 3. However, the cause of death is still deferred. Still on entertainment, Nigerian filmmaker and actress Funke Akindele has released the official trailer for her upcoming movie, A Tribe Called Judah. The movie follows the story of a family of boys who decide to rob a small mall with the help of their mother. However, in getting there, they are faced with armed robbers. Meanwhile, the film is set to premiere on December 15, 2023 and will feature a star-studded cast that include Funke Akindele, Jide Achufusi, Timinia Buson, Uzi Osman, Toby Makinde, Olumide Oworu, Ebele Okaro, Uzo Arukwe, Nse Betim, Etinosa Idemudia, Juliana Olayode, Yvonne Jagade, amongst others. A Tribe Called Judah is the second production under the Funke Akindele Network Company, which was officially launched a few days ago. And lastly, in entertainment news, popular disc jockey Florence Otedola, also known as Cuppy, has shared a cryptic post about close people turning into strangers. According to many, she was indirectly referring to her failed relationship with the former love of her life, Ryan Taylor. It will be recalled that Cuppy had met and fallen in love with a British boxer in 2022. They got engaged and everything was gearing up towards their getting married. They had been into each other that the thought of their separation had felt absorbed and inconceivable. However, their separation was shocked and unhappy. The duo subsequently unfollowed each other on social media, further confirming their breakup. That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News. My name is Xavier Robert. Bye for now.